There comes a moment when man stands face to face with lack. The bills pile, the purse feels light, the soul trembles, but in that very moment, man forgets his power, the creative force of his word. Hold your money. Yes, even if it's a single coin, hold it not with fear but with faith. Look at it not as the last, but as the seed of abundance. Do not say, I have little. Say instead, this multiplies by divine right. This coin is charged with the substance of wealth. The world will tell you to panic. The world will tell you there's not enough, but spiritual law tells you there is always enough when you speak as one with the source. Your words are the channel. Your faith is the key. Say this money is God in visible form. It flows to me freely, endlessly, effortlessly. I am a magnet for divine supply. Say it, not once, but until your heart believes it. Say it until every cell in your body hums with knowing. Money, as most people understand it, is merely a physical form, paper, coin, numbers on a screen. But to the spiritually awakened, money is much more than a material object. It is a symbol, a shadow of something deeper and more real, the ever-flowing, ever-present substance of the divine. When you hold money in your hand, you are not merely holding currency. You are holding a representation of God's unlimited supply made visible in your world. It is the substance of faith manifest in form, and the way you regard it determines the way it flows into your life. Many treat money with either excessive attachment or quiet resentment. They clutch it with fear or push it away with guilt, not realizing that money, like all spiritual energy, responds to consciousness. If you view money as scarce, difficult, or dirty, you reject the very spiritual force behind it. But when you view money as divine substance, as something holy and good, as part of the universal energy of abundance, you begin to draw more of it to you. You come into alignment with the law of supply. To recognize money as spiritual substance is to take it out of the realm of worry and place it into the realm of faith. This does not mean worshipping money or chasing it blindly, but it does mean honoring its role in your spiritual experience. It is no less divine than the air you breathe or the food on your table. It is an instrument of God's provision, a tool through which your needs are met and your good is expressed. When you hold a single coin and say, "This is the visible form of God's substance, and it multiplies for me now," you are not lying. You are speaking the higher truth, the truth that the world may not see but the soul knows. That coin is not small in the hands of faith. It becomes charged with the energy of multiplication, and as you bless it and release it without fear, it finds its way back to you increased, elevated, transformed. People often look at what they have and judge it as too little, unworthy, or insufficient. But spiritual law says, do not despise small beginnings, bless the small, see the divine in the humble, know that God does not deal in amounts, but in consciousness. The smallest coin, when blessed and held in the light of truth, contains the seed of fortune. To live with this awareness is to walk in freedom. You are no longer bound by appearances. You are no longer a slave to numbers or lack. You become the master of your supply, not through force, but through faith. And faith, when paired with the recognition of money as spiritual substance, unlocks rivers of provision that no man can shut. So, the next time you hold money in your hand, see it not as something you must hoard or fear to lose, but as something sacred, a piece of the infinite placed in your palm. Treat it with respect, speak to it with love, and it will surely obey the call of your voice. Words are not idle sounds, they are forces, creative, energetic, magnetic. In the realm of spirit, the spoken word is not separate from action, it is action. When you speak about money, you are not merely describing your financial situation, you are shaping it. Every word spoken over your finances goes forth and gathers after its kind. Words of lack call for more lack. Words of faith and increase summon abundance. This is the spiritual law that governs manifestation, and it does not fail. The universe responds not to your circumstance, but to your spoken declaration of truth or fear. Many unknowingly imprison themselves through the words they habitually speak. They say, "I'm always broke. Money slips through my fingers. I never have enough." And they wonder why their finances remain in a state of struggle. They do not realize that these words are not mere complaints but commands issued to an obedient spiritual system that brings forth in life what is impressed upon it. Each phrase is like planting a seed in the soil of consciousness. The seed will grow, whether it is a weed of fear or a flower of prosperity. To use words rightly is to use them deliberately with awareness of their power. When you say, "Money comes to me easily and freely," you are sending out a blueprint for prosperity to take form. When you declare, "Every dollar I spend returns to me multiplied," you open a channel for multiplication to begin. It does not matter what your bank account shows today. It matters what your mouth is proclaiming. The visible world shifts according to the invisible law spoken into existence through the word. You do not need to wait for proof to speak the truth. You speak it until the proof appears. The world teaches you to speak based on appearances, but spiritual law teaches you to speak what you desire until appearances obey. If your wallet feels light, do not say, "I am poor." Say, "God is the source of my supply, and my supply is unlimited." These words are not denial. They are higher affirmation. They are reminders that you are not subject to outer facts, but to inner faith. The secret lies in consistency. You must treat your words as sacred tools, not as casual chatter. Speak prosperity morning and night. Speak it over your bills, over your wallet, over your business, over your future. Speak it when things look good, and speak it when they don't. Every declaration is a seed, and the harvest is guaranteed by spiritual law. You hold the key to wealth not in your hands, but in your mouth. The words you use build or break, bless or block. There is no neutral speech in the world of spirit. Every word counts, and every word carries your power. To speak wealth is to create wealth, and to declare abundance is to awaken it in your life. Your finances are a mirror of your fear, is the great thief of abundance. It sneaks into the heart quietly, disguised as logic, dressed in realism, masked as caution. It whispers, "There's not enough. What if it doesn't come? You must hold tightly or it will vanish." And in that moment of agreement with fear, the door to supply begins to close, not because the source has dried up, but because the soul has stopped trusting the flow. Faith and fear cannot occupy the same space. Where one lives, the other must go. Faith is the bridge to divine provision. Fear is the blockade that delays it. When man chooses faith over fear, he aligns himself with spiritual law. This law is perfect, precise, and unchanging. It is not moved by appearances, nor does it yield to panic. It responds only to certainty, to spoken faith, to the deep inner knowing that says, "My supply is sure." It is already on its way. The moment you believe that, not just in thought, but in feeling, you activate the invisible machinery of manifestation. Doors begin to open, paths are cleared, and provision rushes in, because spiritual law always fills the space created by unwavering belief. But when fear is allowed to dominate the mind, it turns abundance into anxiety. It causes man to shrink back, to clutch what little he has, to stop giving, to stop declaring, to speak words of doubt and deficiency. And in doing so, he cuts off the very flow he longs for. Fear causes a soul to forget its true source. It looks outward to jobs, clients, systems, and savings accounts, forgetting that all of these are simply channels. The true source is divine, and divine supply cannot be exhausted, delayed, or denied, unless man himself blocks it through fear. Faith is not merely the absence of fear. It is an active force, a living substance that must be spoken, chosen, and held. It is the inner decision to trust in things unseen, to believe in the promise of supply even when the outer world shows lack. It is the refusal to bow to worry or entertain doubt. Faith is an anchor when the winds of uncertainty blow. It says, "I do not know how, but I know it will be done." And in that knowing, a vibration is set in motion that draws provision like a magnet. The great truth is this: your supply is always waiting. It is ready, it is abundant, and it is seeking you, but it does not respond to begging. It responds to belief. It does not come through effort alone, but through energetic agreement with divine order. When you choose faith over fear, you open the channel wide, you allow miracles to occur, you become the living demonstration of what it means to walk in spiritual certainty while others tremble in worldly doubt. To stand in faith is not always easy, but it is always right, it is always rewarded, and the more you choose it, the more natural it becomes. Fear may knock, but it cannot stay where faith has taken root. And once fear is cast out, supply rushes in swiftly, surely, and abundantly. The act of blessing what you have, no matter how small it appears, is one of the most powerful spiritual tools for increasing your supply. What you bless increases, what you criticize shrinks. This is a law of consciousness, and it does not fail. When you look at the little in your hand and speak over it with gratitude and faith, you are aligning with the divine principle of multiplication. You are not lying to yourself. You are lifting your perception to the higher truth where all things are possible. It is not the amount that matters. It is the energy you place upon it. The world teaches us to judge by size. A small amount is seen as inadequate, insufficient, and often causes anxiety. But spiritual truth declares that every seed, no matter how tiny, contains the potential for harvest. When you hold a single coin and bless it, you are watering that seed with divine intention. You are calling forth more of its kind. Blessing what you have is not just a nice thought. It is a creative act. It places your consciousness in alignment with abundance, and where abundance is recognized, it begins to expand. Many people look at their money and see only lack. They frown at their bank balance. They complain about what isn't enough, but that very attitude causes stagnation. Nothing grows in the soil of resentment. But when you look at what you have, even if it feels small or temporary, and you say, "I bless this money. It is good. It is sacred. It is growing," you shift the energy completely. You go from resistance to receptivity, from scarcity to sufficiency, and from fear to faith. You are never too poor to be grateful. You are never too low to begin blessing what you have. The smallest blessing contains the spark of divine increase. It doesn't matter if you're holding one coin, $1, or a near-empty purse. Speak to it with kindness. Speak to it with power. Say, "You are not small. You are the beginning of my overflow. I give thanks for you. I treat you well." This kind of consciousness does not go unnoticed. The universe always reflects back the energy you emit. What you honor will honor you in return. Blessing also has the power to remove shame and guilt around money. Some carry the belief that they are undeserving of wealth or that prosperity is selfish. But when you bless what you have, you dissolve these lies. You declare that money is good, that it serves divine purposes, and that you are worthy of using it for joyful, generous, and abundant living. Blessing transforms your relationship with money from struggle to harmony, from fear to trust, from pressure to peace. Let your words and thoughts become rich even before your hands are. Let your gratitude rise before your income does. When you bless what you have, you multiply the invisible before the visible, and this is how true increase begins, not with getting more, but with blessing what is already in your possession, as if it were more than enough. The words we speak carry more power than most realize. They are not merely sounds, weapons or gifts, tools or traps, depending on how they are used. When you speak words of lack, such as "I can't afford this," "I never have enough," or "money doesn't come to me," you are not simply expressing frustration. You are invoking a spiritual command. You are sending out a decree to the invisible forces that shape your reality. And those words, once released, begin to construct your financial experience according to the belief behind them. Each time such phrases are spoken, they form patterns in the subconscious mind. These patterns repeat, not because of fate or misfortune, but because the words you use confirm and reinforce what you believe to be true. If you continue to say, "Money is hard to come by," the universe will respond by making it harder. If you say, "I'll never get ahead," you effectively stop yourself from moving forward. These words may seem harmless or casual in the moment, but they are building a foundation of scarcity, brick by brick. The spiritual law is clear. What you declare consistently, you will eventually experience. There is no neutral ground in speech. Words either bless or block. They either open the gates of provision or shut them tightly. That's why it is vital to train the tongue to agree only with abundance. Instead of saying, "I can't afford that," say, "It's not part of my divine plan at the moment, but all I need comes to me on time." That statement doesn't deny the current condition, but it leaves room for spiritual movement. It reflects trust instead of fear. Speaking limitation also invites a mindset of shrinking. You begin to think small, dream small, and accept less than what is rightfully yours. Your imagination narrows, and with it, your expectations. But when you shift your language to match divine abundance, something changes, not only in your outer world, but in your inner being. You begin to expect increase. You begin to anticipate provision. You look at opportunities differently. You respond to challenges with faith instead of defeat. This is not about ignoring reality. It is about rising above it. It is about acknowledging that while the facts may say one thing, truth says another. The fact may be that your wall, it is thin today. The truth is that divine supply is never empty, and your words must choose which one to align with. The moment you stop repeating words of defeat and begin to speak words of increase, your atmosphere changes. New paths open, resources are drawn to your boldness, doors you thought were closed forever begin to shift. You must guard your speech as you would guard your treasure, because in truth, your words are your treasure. They are the currency of the spiritual realm. If you spend them carelessly, you will live in lack, but if you invest them wisely, in declarations of abundance, gratitude, and confidence, you will draw to you all that your heart seeks. The tongue must be tamed, not in silence, but in sacred discipline. For when you speak life, life answers back in full. To claim your supply with bold expectation is to stand in your divine authority as a spiritual being, not as a beggar, but as a rightful heir to all good. It is not arrogance, but alignment. It is not presumption, but partnership with the divine source that has already declared your provision complete. You do not chase after wealth as if it were outside of you, distant or elusive. You recognize that what is yours by divine law is already finished in the unseen and waiting for your command to be released into form. Many people approach their needs timidly. They pray with doubt, speak with hesitation, and act as though receiving good is somehow asking too much. But spiritual law does not respond to pleading. It responds to faith. It responds to certainty. When you claim your supply with boldness, you declare, "This is already mine. I do not need to earn it with struggle or convince God to bless me. I am already blessed. I am already wealthy in the realm of spirit, and that wealth now comes into visible expression." This bold expectation is not based on what you currently see. It is based on knowing who you are in spirit and who your source is. You may look around and see lack, but inwardly you must speak abundance. You may not know how it will come, but you must expect that it will. Expectation is the container that catches the flow. Without it, the blessing pours out with nowhere to land. Expecting good is the same as preparing for it. When you expect something, you make space for it. You clear the way mentally and emotionally for it to appear. To claim your supply boldly is to speak with the authority of one who knows that the universe is friendly, that the laws of prosperity are fair and faithful, and that nothing can block what has been appointed to you. You say things like, "I walk in divine wealth now. What I need appears on time, in full. Money flows to me freely and constantly, not to trick the mind, but to train it in truth." You are retraining your consciousness to reflect your spiritual identity rather than your temporary conditions. This boldness is not loudness or ego. It is inner confidence. It is the quiet, unshakable knowing that your good cannot be withheld. It is the refusal to shrink, settle, or sabotage the blessing that is already in motion. Too often, people cut off their own supply by doubting it right before it arrives. But bold expectation holds the door open long enough for the blessing to walk through. It stands guard against fear, replacing it with the constant awareness that all that is mine by divine right is now released to me in perfect timing and perfect form. When you walk in this state of bold claiming, life begins to respond. Ideas come, opportunities find you, resources gather, people show up, not because you forced it, but because you finally aligned with it. You stood tall in the knowing that you were never meant to lack, but to receive. You were never meant to beg, but to believe, and in that belief, the world reshapes itself to mirror your faith.